Welcome all students from Accord University, Master of Information Systems, Management and Data Mining, course Advanced Data Modeling and Mining. Greetings for all again, and let us start. Today, dear students, we will talk about the data modeling concept. So, what is the data modeling? Data modeling is a process used to define and analyze data requirements. Data requirements that needed to support the business process within the scope of corresponding information system in organizations. Therefore, the process of data modeling involves professional data modelers working closely with business stakeholders as well as potential users of the information system. The data modeling concept is used an information system to process the data. This to convert it into information, because we know, dear students, that the information systems, the main purpose and the main goal of it is converting the raw material into information with full meaning. So, which will be used to support business process in organizations. Data modeling application example. One of the application examples of data modeling is the forecasting systems. So, firstly, let us know, what do you mean by forecasting systems? Let us see. Forecasting is a practical example of data modeling. It is a technique that uses historical data as input to make predictive estimations of future trends. So we have historical data and we need to know estimations, predicted estimations of future trends. For example, and not to limit, organizations and business use forecasting to determine their budgets or to plan for an upcoming period of time. This is usually based on the expected demand for the goods and services offered. So, forecasting is very important for all companies, organizations, and businesses to make their own strategic plan or on decisions in the future. So the top management of organizations, the top management of companies use the forecasting in order to design their strategic plan for the coming future. Okay. The forecasting has different methods or different techniques or different types, as it is shown in the figure in the slide. Look, the first technique is straight line. Straight line. What is the purpose or the use of this technique? Constant growth rate. So, in the constant growth rate, we can use the forecasting technique, which is a straight line. What is the data needed in this technique? The data needed is historical data. So we use the historical data as a raw material, as input to make predictive estimations for the future related to the constant growth rates. The second technique of the forecasting is moving average. Look, moving average. We will use historical data also. The main use is repeated forecasts. The third technique is simple linear regression. Simple linear regression. In this method, we use the data from or as a sample of relevant observations. And the main use of this technique is compare one independent with one dependent variable. But my question here, what do you mean by dependent variables and also independent variables? Dear student, the independent variables are the variables in the input of the system. So this is the independent variable. The independent variables is the variables which are located in the input of the system. So there are raw material. The dependent variables are the variables in the output of the system. So the information equals the dependent variable, because we know that the system converts the raw material in the input into information in the output. So the input is independent variables and the output is dependent variables. So the independent variables equals the raw material, the data before processing, and the dependent variables equals information, which is the data after processing, which is the raw material after processing, which is the independent variable after processing. Okay. The fourth technique of the forecasting methods is multiple linear regression. Multiple linear regression. What do you mean by multiple linear regression? The first note that should be noticed that the data needed here as the simple linear regression, which is a sample of relevant observations. This is the data needed. So the data needed is a sample of relevant observations. The main use is compare more than one independent variable with one dependent variable. So, dear students, the main difference, as we see, between the simple linear regression and the multiple linear regression is as follows. In the simple linear regression, the comparing between independent and dependent variables is done by or to one independent. So there is a compare between one independent with one dependent. But in the multiple linear regression, we can see that there is a compare between more than one independent variable with one dependent variable. So we can make a comparison between more than one independent variable with one dependent variable in the multiple linear regression. But in the simple linear regression, we can compare one independent variable with one dependent variable. This is the main difference. One independent in the simple linear, and more than one independent in the multiple linear. Now we will talk about linear regression or linear forecasting. The linear regression or forecasting model can be implemented directly by using Microsoft Office Excel program. How we can do this? Look, the Excel function that is responsible to implement the simple linear, regression or forecasting is, as you see, forecast.linear. This is the function f of x, which is already included in the library of the Excel. So the Excel function, which is responsible to implement, to calculate, to find the simple linear regression or forecasting, is forecast.linear, which we can find it directly by using Excel library. The category, as you see, of the forecast.linear function is statistical. So, dear students, we can go to the Excel library. At the first step, you can go to the Excel library. Second step, you should select the category, which is statistical. And the third step, you can search and find the function, which is forecast.linear. Forecast.linear, which is the Excel function that is responsible to implement and calculate and achieve the simple linear forecasting or regression. Okay. Let us continue now. In the linear regression or forecasting, dear students, there are different variables or different variables. So, what are these variables? As we said to you, you should go to the Excel library. You should select the correct category, which is in our example, statistical. Then you can search and find your specific function. And in our example, it is the forecast.linear. After you select the forecast.linear, there are variables of this function. So what are these variables? Look at the presentation. The first variable, as we see, is x. The second variable is x's. So many values here. Y is variable, and the same of x's, many variables. What are the main difference between these variables? X variable means the data point for which you want to predict. Look, the data point for which you want to predict. But X's values are the values of the independent variables. And these values are the independent variables, which is the array, which is the array of independent variables, array of the values. The same, the y's, the values of the dependent variables. So the y's means, on the other hand, is the array array of the values of dependent variables. So dear students, be careful about the following. I will use the whiteboard for more clarification for you. Okay, great. Wait a minute. This is okay. Now I think it's ready. Okay, look, this is the system, the forecasting, simple linear. This is the input, which is independent variables. This is the output, which is dependent variables. This is raw data. This is information. So these values is x's. These values are x's. And these values are y's. X's means the independent variables, the array of independent variables. The y's means the dependent variables, the array of dependent variables. Any system, dear students, you should be notes that any system, includes in its input the x's, which is independent variables. And in its output, there are y's, which are the dependent variables. In our example, in the forecasting system or regression, simple linear regression, in the input, there are the array of x's, and in the output, there are array of y's. So x's, the input values, and the y's are the output values. Okay? Return back to presentation. Okay. Now we can know and understand clear what are the difference between independent and also dependent. Let us continue. Okay. After you go to the Excel library and choose the correct and suitable category, which is in our example statistical, and then choose the correct function, which is in our example is forecast.linear, because we are looking to implement simple linear regression and forecasting. Now, this message will be shown for you. Look, this is the forecast.linear function. These are the main variables of this function: x, y's, and x's. And as I said to you, x is the data point for which you want to predict. The y's means or equals the independent variables in the input of the system as array values. Sorry, y's is the dependent. Y's is the dependent of the values which will be on the output of the system and in the form of array. The x's values are the values in the input of the systems, which is independent values. So x means the data point for which you want to predict. Y's are the dependent variables which are in the output of the system. X's are the independent variables which are in the input of the system. Now, dear student, for more information, let us take application example for linear forecasting model. Look, the net profits of a company during the last 7 years were as follows. As you see, we are talking about historical data. We are talking about historical data. And this is the data that is used in the linear regressions. Okay. Let us return back to our example. The net profits of a company during the last 7 years were as follows. Look, from the year of 2014 until 2020. In the 2014, the net profits in the American dollar is $42,000. In the year of 2015, the net profits is $44,000. In 2016, the net profits $50,000. In the 2017, the net profits $55,000. In 2018, the net profits $60,000. In 2019, the net profits $65,000. In the 2020, the net profits was $61,000. So the net profits range starts from $42,000 in the year of 2014 and reached to $61,000 in the year of 2020. So we have now the historical data. We have now the historical data. So we can build a model which is simple linear regression, simple linear forecasting. We can use these historical data and process it to get the output, which is the dependent variables. Now, the top management of the company needs to know what is the expected net profits that can achieve in the following coming years. The year of 2022, the year of 2023, and the year of 2024. And this in order to take them into the consideration during the preparing of the executive plan of the company in the coming 3 years. So, dear students, in this example, the top management of the company needs to know what is the expected net profits in the coming 3 years, 2020, 2023, and 2024. Why? To take them in the consideration while preparing the executive plan of this company. So we will now build the model. This model is simple linear regression, which is simple linear forecasting. Let us see how we can achieve and do and implement this. Now, dear students, to see how we can achieve this, let us move to online practical application by using the Excel program. Look, dear students, now we open the Microsoft Office Excel. And in the Microsoft Office Excel, there are cells, as you see. Each cell has a specific or has own name. For example, this cell has the name of A1. Look, A1. This is the name of the cell. You can look above, then you look to the left. So the name of the cell is A1. For example, what is the name of the cell? The name of the cell is H5. Look, H5. So this is H5. Now, we will design the model of our system related to the simple linear regression or simple linear forecasting, depending on the historical data in our example. So here we will put the year. Here, I will add a new column in the design, which is the number of the year. The number of the year if the text disappear, you can enlarge the cell as you see, okay, until to be suitable, to reach to the suitable size of the cell. And let us enlarge the size of the cell. Firstly, okay, I think the size now is good and suitable. Now, the net profits in American dollar, the net profits in the American dollar okay, you can make some arrangements and in the design of the table. So we can select the title of the columns of the table, and then you can choose a suitable color. For example, you can make the font bold, and here you can change the size, the themes font. You can now enlarge the again the size of the cell. Okay, now the year of 2014. This is the year of 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. The net profits, let us fill it firstly. $42,000 American dollar. 44,000 American dollar. 50,000 American dollar. 55,000 American dollar. 60,000 American dollar. 65,000 American dollar. And finally, in the 2020, the net profits was 61,000 American dollar. Here, dear student, you should be accurate, or you should be very, very accurate when you enter the data, because your data will be the base of the system. As we said in the first lecture, when you use historical data, you should be very accurate, and you should use the right values of the data in order to get the suitable output and answers that you look to find it. Now, the number of the year is a sequential number, starts from 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and reach to 7. You can now make some arrangements. Make the size 14, for example. Okay. Now, we need to know here, we can make merge cells. Look, we select the cells that we want to merge them. Then you can write on the right button of the mouse. You can choose merge cells, or you can do it directly from this icon. Okay. Simple, linear, regression or forecasting. Okay. Can make a background with the color. Let us take different color here. Okay, let us make it bold and make a larger number of the font size. Okay. Let us enlarge this column, as you see. Now, the expected or predicted okay. Return back to Excel. Okay. Let us rewrite it. The predicted more suitable. The predicted net profits now can of year 2020. You can make put color background, for example. This is make it bold, large size of the font. So the predicted, I need to spelling. Okay, it's okay now. We can make it copy and here paste. Also here paste. Can make modification 2021 and also 2020. We need the value in United States dollar. So you can choose it as you see now. Select the cell firstly, then right to the click to the right button of the mouse. Choose format cells. You can choose currency. In the currency, you can choose the symbol of the currency that you need. Here, all the currencies of the world. Look. So you can choose here dollar as you see. Here you can also choose the decimal places. 2, 3, 4, as you need in your system. In our example, we will choose 2. It's only, it's enough for us. Okay. Now, dear students, now and after we finish the design of our model, now we will use the function that of the Excel in the Excel functions library, as we said, to make the simple linear regressions and forecasting. Let us see how we can do this. Look, firstly, you should select the cell that you look to put the answer on it. Then go to the library of the Excel, which is f of x bar, in the f of x bar. Now you should select the correct category. In our example, as we said in the lecture, the category is statistical. Now you can search and find your function. In our example, the function is forecast.linear. All of the functions here in the category of statistical is arranged according to alphabet. So the forecast.linear, we can find it here. Look, forecast.linear. Now you should select it. Then press OK button. As you see, and as I said to you in this lecture, there are three main variables: x, y's, and x's. So the x, as I said to you, is the data point for which you want to predict. Look, in our example, we need to predict to the year of 2020. So 20 there is a mistake in editing. This is 2021, and this is 2022, and this is 2023. Sorry. Okay. Again, you should select the suitable cell that you look to put the answer on it. Then go to the library of the Excel, the function library of the Excel, by click on the f of x in the f of x bar. Now you should select the suitable category. In our example is statistical. You should select it. Now you can search and find your suitable function. In our example, our suitable function is forecast.linear. And as I said to you, all of these functions are arranged by alphabet system. So forecast.linear, you should select it, then press OK button. Now x, as I said to you, is the data point for which you want to predict. Please, dear student, look. In the year of 2020, the number of the year was 7. The number of the year was 7. So in the year of 2021, the number of the year will be 8. So the x will be 8. So you should put and enter the 8 in the x value. In 2020, the year will be 8. In 2023, the number of the year will be 9. So the x is the data point for which you want to predict. Here, in the year of 2021, the value of the x is 8. Why 8? Because in the 2020, the number of the year was 7. So in the 2021, the number of the year will be 8. Now, the y's value. As I said to you, the y's value are the dependent variables, the array of dependent variables. So the output of the system. So what is the output of the system? as you see. The output of the system will be the net profits. So you should select all values of y's. You should select them as follows. From C2 until to reach to C8. From C2, which is 42,000 related to the year of 2014, until reach to the 61,000, which is C8 related to the year of 2020. So the value of the y's, these are the values of the y's, which are the dependent values, which are the output of the system, which are the array of dependent values, which are the net profits values. So you should select all of them from C2 until to C8. Now x's. What are the x's values? The x's values, as I said to you, are the independent values, the array of the independent values, which are in the input of the system, which are, as you see, the number of the year. The number of the year will be the input of the systems. So the number of the year will be the independent values, will be the array of independent values, which will be from B, start from B2 until reach to B8. So in the x's, you can select all of the values, all the array of the values, all the cells of the values, which start from B2 until reach to B8, as you see. So now, dear student, we choose correct values to all variables of the forecast.linear function. As we see, the x is 8. The y's value, which are the dependent variables, which are the output of the system. So they are the net profits from C2 to C8, and the x's are the independent variables, which are the input variables of the system, which are the number of the year. So you should choose all of them from B2 until reach to B8. Now you can press OK to know and to calculate the predicted net profit of the year of 2021. Look, this is the predicted number, which is nearly $70,000. Nearly $70,000. Now, the same method we should apply to find and calculate the predicted net profit of the year of 2020. You can go directly to the f of x function in the f of x bar. You should select statistical. Then you should choose the function of forecast.linear. Forecast.linear, as you see. Then press OK. Now, the x here, as you see, dear student, the x here, look, in the 2020, the number of the year is 7. In the 2021, the number of the year is 8. So in the year of 2020, the number of the year will be 9. So x is the data point for which you want to predict. So it is the number of the year in this year. So the number of the year is 9. So you should put here or enter 9 in the variable of x. The value of y's, as I said to you, y's are the dependent variables, which are the values in the output of the system. So these values will be the net profits. So you should select all of them, start from C2 until you reach to C8 as you see. Okay. Now in the X's, which are the independent variables, which are the variables in the input of the system. So if you look to the example, you can notice that the X's is or are the number of the years. So you should select all of them from B2 until you reach to B8 as you see. I select all of them. Now I choose the number of the year. I also select the correct values for Y's and X's. Now you can press to the OK button to find and calculate and know the predicted value of the net profit of the year of 2020. Let us see. Look, this is the number. Okay, more than $73,000. The same, dear students. Now the same, dear students, can apply to the year of 2023. Let us see. Firstly, you should select the correct location of the cell. Now go directly to the f of x bar to go to the X library of the functions. Now select the category, the suitable category, or if this category is used directly, you can go directly here to the most recently used, and you can find statistical in this menu. Look, most recently used, you can use forecast.linear, or you can the function directly, forecast.linear. Okay. The X here, what is the X here? The X, as you know now, is the data point for which you want to predict. So in the year of 2023, what is the number of the year? Here in 2020, the number of the year is 7. 2021, the number of the year is 8. 2020, the number of the year is 9. So 2023, the number of the year will be 10. So you will choose here and enter 10 in the X variable. Y's, as said to you many times, the dependent variables, which are the variables in the output of the system, which are in our example, the net profits. So you should select all of them, starts from C2 until you reach to C8. So you can choose it and select all of them. X's, I said to you many times that X's also the input variables, in other hand, which are the independent variables in the input of the system, as in our example, as you look in, if we look to the our example, you can notice that the X's are the number of the year, because the number of the year is the input, the main input of the system, which equals to the independent variables. So now you should select all of them from P2 until you reach to the P8, as I do. So I choose the value of the X, the range of cells of Y's value, the range of cells as array of X's values. So now, dear student, we can press to the OK button to show the answer, and we can make format painter to do the same format for all answers. Look, the value is 77, more than $77,000, $77,214. Now, dear students, the top management of the company become know exactly what are the predicted values of the net profits in the coming 3 years, 2021, 2022, 2022 and 2023, and they take them in the considerations in designing and making and implementing their plan or strategic plan or executive plan in the company. Okay. Dear students, thank you all for your attendance. See you in the coming lecture. Bye.